Today we're going to talk about the Proaim Swift Dolly. This is a tripod dolly, as well as the 12-foot Proaim Swift Track. Let's go. Okay, so in each of the three corners, there's sort of this opening here, and the idea is the foot of the tripod would then live in there. This is one thing I was pleasantly surprised at. I am basically able to put my tripod at any height that it is capable of, within reason, like really close, and I'll just show you that now. It will pretty much get me down as low as it'll go, kind of thing. So this has this post sticking out the bottom that allows the tripod to kind of go out laterally. So obviously it can't go super low, but as you can see, that gets me quite low. This does have a mounting hole right here, and in other situations, you could put a camera maybe right on that to a mounting plate, or I might be able to take a gimbal and put it right down there. So if you want to get the camera super low, you definitely have options. Okay, so the tripod is in here because of these holes. It actually sits in there pretty steady. One thing about something like this, because it's pretty light and it moves easy, especially if you're walking with it, it can be easy to introduce sort of some micro jitters. I was playing around with it last night, and it definitely seems to be pretty stable. However, I found even just throwing a few sandbags on here really adds some mass to it, and that really seems to help. So I'm going to show you that now. So these are, I'm pretty sure, 15-pound sandbags. This has a fairly open framework in here. You could obviously, cut a piece of plywood or whatever, depending on how much weight you want to go. I could really see, this is 45 pounds, and it really does add quite a bit to it. I could see easily going, 100 pounds or maybe even 150 or so, depending on what sort of setup you had on here. But this seems to just add a lot of stability, where once it gets moving, it's just kind of going at a smooth pace a bit better. So obviously there's nothing on the tripod right now, so there's not a lot of weight holding it down. It's pretty wobbly. There is an eyelet here on the frame, so I could probably, do a tie down or a ratchet strap or something down to that, I'm guessing. But either way, once it's got the weight on there, it actually feels pretty good. So I'm just noticing there is actually like a hook right here on the tripod. So I could probably run some sort of strap down to there. One thing to mention, when you have the camera kind of low like this, a lot of dolly situations, especially a big dolly cart's probably gonna have a handle. My tripod, I like to run two handles. So I've been putting one up like this, and then I've kind of got something to walk with, which seems to be working pretty good. Definitely a bit of noise coming from those wheels, but just remains to be seen if it's going to be an issue or not. As I was saying, this thing does not run silently. I wonder if, maybe putting some WD-40 or something on these might quiet it up, but then if you ever have it on white carpet or something, it might get them dirty. So I'm just going to be quiet and see if you can hear this. Okay, so I don't know if that's really going to be a problem. Obviously, we're right down next to it, but I can hear it with my ears. Next up, we've got a joint right here where they butt together. And this isn't adjustable, really. It's very precise where the bolt goes in, so I think it's just kind of what you get is what you get. But you can hear kind of a clunk, 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 clunk. Okay. It is more noticeable on this side that just has the one wheel. They seem to spread out maybe a little better on the other one. So again, I don't know if that's going to ruin a shot. I don't know if you're going to hear that, if there's dialogue going on. Regardless though, those are kind of my two big complaints. Okay, so next up, when I first got this, one of these sets of wheels would be fairly tight and the other one would be unbelievably loose. This one's pretty loose back here. That was as tight as I was able to get them between the two. It's kind of a finicky system. But you know, it seems to be rolling pretty good regardless. I don't know if you can see, but I had to put a bunch of washers, these little fiber washers in here just to bring this down to touch the track. Now this is the tight one right now. If I remove one more washer, then all of a sudden this one becomes the tight one and this is loose. So definitely not like a ultra precise system, but again, you know, at the price point, it is very strong. You know, it's generally, the structural build of it is quite good. It's just not exactly a super fine, precise instrument, but you know, you've got to go into this with fairly tempered expectations in this sort of price range. So just as a quick side note, this is a Manfrotto 055 set of legs, and then the head is MVH 502AH. So this is kind of a neat setup, and I feel like this is actually a pretty good match for this setup here. So let me just show you real quick what I'm talking about. I can lower this down. We'll just go to there for now. I can then this moves over here like that, which is pretty neat. So depending on what you're trying to do, throw some weight up here just to kind of keep this steady. You know, obviously it would probably be a good idea to tie this down if you had a big heavy setup on it. But you know, now you can kind of get a shot where it's almost hanging over looking down. And actually it would stick out further the other way, so that would probably be the better side to do it on. But I'm just going to move it around a little bit and see if the camera can pick up the sound of the wheels. Kind of like a gentle whistling. You could argue if the sound were constant that maybe there was an alignment issue, but it does seem to change. It's always worse towards the end of the tracks. Like that. And it's usually pretty good in here. Either way though, I don't know if that's actually going to be an issue. A lot of times I might be doing stock video stuff where I'm not recording audio anyways. And again, for the price, I mean, you can't really expect it to be perfect. So once I've got this loaded down, maybe it's because I'm further away from that crack between the two pipes, but I don't really seem to be noticing it as much. Little clunk clunk, but I don't know if that's really going to translate to the video. So let's throw the camera on the tripod and get a few shots, and we'll just sort of see what this looks like in action. Okay, so here we are just doing a little dolly shot. I've got the weight on the sled there, the 45 pounds, or on the actual dolly I should say, and I'm just sort of moving it along, holding onto the tripod. I don't know if you can hear that noise. I mean, the track seems to be pretty audible. It kind of comes and goes. Again, though, in a lot of situations, it's not really going to matter. But it's just something to think about. Proaim is a company that makes a lot of stuff that would be typically reserved for the more professional film world, but it's super affordable. And in a lot of cases, they seem to have really high weight capacities. And that's one thing about this tripod dolly. It was never really something that I had thought that I wanted. But I think this setup is rated for around 250 or 300 pounds, something just astronomically high. I like the fact that this has a high weight capacity, because even though I might just have a camera and a tripod on there, I have the ability to load a whole bunch of weight on top of it, sandbags or whatever, and be able to have that mass that just adds that stability. All right, folks, thanks for coming by. Please give me a thumbs up and a subscribe. As discussed, I do have a link in the description if you want to check these out on Amazon. That would really help me out. And regardless, let me know what you think. Have you ever used one of these? I do like the idea of a Dana dolly. Once you realize the amount of leveling and stuff that would need to happen in different situations, you can really see the value of just a set of stands, you know, that you can adjust and maybe put a center brace in, depending on how long your track is. And you don't really have to worry about creating this perfect smooth platform. With this one, I think it might be a lot easier to make a longer track. You don't have to worry about putting a riser on it because you've got the tripod. Like, there's different things like that. I think they're different tools for different situations, and I could definitely see myself owning both of them at some point.